Sports fanatics, welcome back to another action-packed installment of the Bottom Line Sportsbook as presented by the Hamin Media Group. I'm the RBV, Richard Bronson Vickrey, and as always, I am joined by the handicapper extraordinaire, Mr. JayB. But you know what, though? JayB, I don't even know if I want to talk to you right now. As we are sitting here recording this week's episode, I'm up here in the Midwest. We are talking negatives, temperature-wise. As I'm talking to you this week, you're down there in the Sunshine State, 85 and beautiful, brother. Get out of here with that.
Well, we had a little bit rough today. This morning was like 79, I think.
Oh, wow. Cold front moving in. Let me ask you down there. You're Jacksonville area, correct?
No, I'm it's Port St. Lucie. It's like in between Fort Lauderdale and Orlando.
Okay. So you guys, when's the last time that you've seen actually snow?
We don't get no snow.
I was going to say ever. Does 0% ever happen?
Yeah.
So pretty much your guys like weather emergencies is when you have to go board up the windows. Hurricanes are coming through.
Yes, but actually where I live, I'm inland. I live in a city called Port St. Lucie. For baseball fans, that's where the New York Mets. That's where their the single division baseball is. By the way.
Okay, so everyone thought it was nice and beautiful down there, but you do have the Mets. So,
yes,
I guess it's better to have to deal with hurricanes, ice storms, and 20 feet of snow because at least we don't have the Mets.
No, the Mets are pretty good, I think. But no, I mean, the weather is great. I can't complain. And we're inland, so where we are, we don't really get hurricanes. I mean, when the hurricanes come through here, I don't even put up shutters.
So you're seriously outside of the Mets. You're in a little piece of paradise down there, while the rest of the world is suffering through this hellacious winter storm.
Listen, I put in my time. I was born and raised in New York, so I had my hellacious blizzards and all that. I put in my time.
There we go. Well, let's get the show going here. Talk about putting in time, and I'm talking about Super Bowl time. Tom Brady, 7-time champion, 10 Super Bowls. The Buccaneers, they go over strong on the favored Kansas City Chiefs. Want to take a moment to recap. I know we had a successful run. We had some good calls here on the show. Why don't you break down how your Super Bowl week went?
So I'm happy and pissed off at the same time. And let me explain. Obviously, I got my big play, which was, the Bucks and the points. Tom Brady, it's so hard to go against them. And we had him. We both had him, actually, and he became victorious. So if I had such a big play, which I had a lot of money riding on, and I won, what could I possibly be pissed off about? Let me tell you what it was. We talked about it off air. We talked about it in chat. Plus 700 for our fans to run out on the field. And I talked about saying, hey, you know what? It would have been crazy. Like, let's just bet $10,000 on that and run it yourself. Use a part of that money to pay your fines. And that's it. $70,000 easy or how much ever. And what did you know? A fan ran on the field. And I think you're the one that sent me the article on that, right? Can you tell the people what you read about?
Well, what we had there, just kind of refresh my memory here on it. But yeah, our conversation was like, man, this is weird that anyone would even accept this bet because it's something that's so easy to manipulate. And absolutely, it came to fruition here. But yeah, as a part of a publicity stunt that was for an adult website, and they threw some money here on the side. A couple gentlemen had played this. There was a few decoys, ducks in waiting that kind of got the troops' attention. While this one gentleman, he made it onto the scene, bikini thong and all, as he collected a cool. What did he end up like $370,000?
$375.
$375 on this thing. He said the bail to get him out of jail was $1,000. I don't know if that was him and his buddies, him by himself, but who cares? That's a hell of a clearance. So a big winner there. Hey, the biggest winner that we did cover last week on the show with the biggest bet that was placed, Mattress Mac, cleaning up, cashing in, took the Buccaneers $3.46 million for the win. Please and thank you, Mattress Mac.
That's a lot of fucking mattresses.
Our streaker cleaning up. But hey, I didn't do too bad myself. I'm not in their league, but for my humble own being here in the great state of Ohio, I went, what did I do? 6 for 7 on my bets there.
Nice.
Last week. I hit the coin flip, the first and last score. I hit the winners. I hit the MVP. Was one other one there? Something to do. Oh, the over-under. But I missed the Gatorade, which I know that you hit. You went with the yellow, the lime. I went with good old orange, and it failed me. But hey, I can't complain.
I think it was blue, right?
Was it blue? I know I didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't get it
I
either.
didn't hit it.
Yeah, so, I did get the over 3.5 sacks, which I mean, not to. I know we have a lot to cover today, but I said Pat Mahomes is going to get pressured, and boy, did he get pressured. That O-line was put to the test, and they failed just as I predicted. So I hit the over 3.5 sacks in that game, so I was glad about
that. Props to the Buccaneers. They went out there. They earned that victory. They completely dominated. A great performance. So, again, they're going to be looking to come back. Tom immediately said he's ready for another ride on the pirate ship down there. They are the odds-on favorite right now to repeat. But hey, we're talking about winners. I know we got a big announcement. We got breaking news here. For those that have been hearing us talk about it on our first few programs, the season brought to you by the Hamin Media Group, and those feature such things as pro wrestling and MMA pick'ems. We have fantasy leagues in soccer, football, basketball, baseball, you name it. But we also had a pick'em challenge going on during the NFL playoffs. We did round by round. Had to predict the winners. At the Super Bowl, we had the straight up winner, and then we had some prop bets inside there. We had over a dozen participants in this thing. Some great competition. JayB, I'm going to hand it over to you for the big announcement. Who was our grand prize winner?
Yeah, first let me just say thanks to everybody that participated. We had, I think, over 25 participants. So
nice.
Yeah, thank you for everybody who participated. But unfortunately, there could only be one winner. And would you like to take a guess on who it is?
Oh man, you know what? I tried to go find the standings. I didn't want to kind of ruin anything here, but I know I was in striking distance.
You were not that far away, but the winner here is actually, and this is not, we're not in cahoots here. This is just how it came out. It's actually the GM of the WWE Pick'em, and that's Mr. Jeremy Ellingsworth. So congratulations,
wow.
Jeremy Ellingsworth. I think he won by 3 points. I'm going to be releasing the actual standings and the final scores this upcoming Monday. So as you see this, literally 2 days from now. But congratulations, Jeremy Ellingsworth. You're going to be contacted because you're going to go ahead and win a T-shirt, any Hamin Media Group T-shirt, and also your very own signed autographed picture of the Ayatollah himself, Bin Hamin.
Wow, what a prize pack right there. Ellingsworth with the big win right down the road from me in Louisville, Kentucky. I believe he's a Ravens fan. So I guess
he's
something, a little parting gift for him since his team let him down so much this season. Hey, well, let's get into, the reason that we're here, and that's the talk, putting some money on the action, on the hot action. And with the NFL playoffs in the rear view mirror, that means, ladies and gentlemen, start your engines. I know for us here in the Midwest and the Northeast, it's hard to believe, but it's time for the Daytona 500. It's gonna happen. NASCAR kicks off this Sunday, Valentine's Day, February 14th. The race gets going 2:30 p.m. You can catch that live on Fox. Their pre-show starts at 1 p.m. And JayB, I know you've done some research here. We've got some of the favorites. I do want to just list a couple of the top favorites before I hand it over to you here. You got Denny Hamlin sitting at the top, plus 700. Chase Elliott, plus 900. Joey Logano at plus 1,100. Then you also got Ryan Blaney, the old Brad Kowalski, one of the favorites out there. They're also at plus 1,100. Kevin Harvick at 1,200 to round out your favorites leading into this year's Daytona 500.
So I'm going to say this straight out. We're going to peel behind the curtain a little bit and let everybody in on a little secret. JayB knows absolutely nothing about NASCAR or the Daytona 500. RBV hit me up and said, hey, you know what? Daytona 500 is coming out this weekend. Do you think we could do something on it? I immediately accepted the challenge. And the reason I accepted is because I want to show everybody out there, even though you may not know a lot about a certain sport or something, if you're willing to do the research and put in the time, learn the trends, again, put in some time with the homework, you'll give yourself a shot. So I do have a play for everybody today. And you mentioned Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin is the odds-on favorite to win this. Plus 700. I've also seen plus 800. However, I'm actually not going to take him to win. One thing you have to understand about motorsports, NASCAR, and also, I bet the big races in terms of horse racing, it's literally like throwing darts. I mean, literally anything can happen, more so with NASCAR, because one accident changes the course of everything. One car crash and everything is over, flipped upside down. So rather than taking Danny Hamlin to win, which he may not, may not. Keep in mind, he's won the last two Daytona 500s. No one has ever won 3 in a row. He'll be trying to make history. Will he win? I don't know. But here's something I can almost guarantee, as long as there's not a car crash, and that's for Denny Hamlin to place in the top 10. Denny Hamlin to place in the top 10 right now is at minus 180, which is pretty pricey. There is juice there. However, as the motto goes on the Bottom Line Sportsbook, you don't pay juice, only if you lose. And we're not losing this, so there is no juice.
Okay, there you go. There you have it. It's Moneyball, ladies and gentlemen. Even if you're not familiar with it, you follow the numbers, do your research. Hey, you might find a new passion. You might find that you found a way into some newfound riches. So there's our pick for the Daytona 500. Make sure to check that out again Sunday. Race season gets going. That's going to be on Fox at 2:30. Let's go from the oval left-hand turns to the round ball and some hardwood. Now, I want to talk a little NBA here, and we're going to start a lot more basketball conversation, pros and college, especially as we get into March. Again, one of the beautiful things here about the Bottom Line Sportsbook, we're just not talking to those experts. We want to educate. We want to guide people along with us. So I wanted to do a little NBA 101 with you, JayB. I know that you had told me it's so hard to talk a few days out about exact picks and lines inside the NBA. So I wanted you to maybe expand on your approach, your strategies when you are looking at NBA games.
Right. So this year, more than ever, because of COVID, NBA is extremely fickle. There are a lot of really seasoned veteran cappers that are losing their skins right now this season in NBA. Thankfully, luckily, I've been having a great season. Our fearless leader, Ben Hamid, can attest to that because he sees my picks every single day. I'm basically at 60+% every single week. This week, I think I'm 15 out of 19, and the Knicks are about to win, so that's about to put me 16 out of 20. So, I'm having a really good season, but I'm lucky. I'm blessed in that way. But at the same time, there's a lot of things you have to look for. Like, I always have to look at the lineups because the lineups are changing so much. Not only are the lineups changing because of injuries, but coaches just saying, hey, you know what? This guy is going to rest today. And a lot of times you don't hear that until about 30 minutes before the game. Like Ben, for example, will go crazy, but like, hey, give me some time. Because, like today I hit him up and the game was about to start in 3 minutes, but I wanted to wait last minute. So I got the final lineup. So that's something that's very important. Again, going back to numbers, you always want to look at trends, look at what these teams have done head to head. I'm very big in over and unders in basketball. It seems if you actually study it, certain teams, their overs are like crazy. I mean, it's so ridiculous how high some of the overs are. And overs have been hitting a lot this season. More games tend to go over versus under because everyone's just chucking up threes every other play. So a lot of different things to look at. I would say more so than football. NBA is definitely a harder sport to cap versus football. But if you take the time and do the research, you can be very profitable.
Now, when I bet the NBA, there was a few things that I would really study that would really jump out to me. And I do how you're talking about the over-under. I'd always find that in that middle stretch when the teams are kind of in that comfort zone, you see a lot of over because you're not having that lockdown defense. They're not as tight on things. Now, that's opposed to you get late in the season into the playoffs, the reps aren't as friendly. They are tightening up a little bit on D, so it does become a little more difficult on that over-under. So you really got to do your homework there. But the number one thing I always followed in the NBA was the travel schedule. And each team can be a little bit different. So you really, maybe you hitch your wagon to a few teams and you really study them because there's a few that will be, if it's the first couple days of a road trip, they realize it. They don't want to be on the road there. They're going to be lousy. They're resting people. but for others, they'll do it on that back end. So for each team, if you kind of follow those trends, and they'll show you a pattern throughout the year, you can make a lot of money with them.
You're 100% correct. And actually, I'm really glad you said that. The Knicks won, by the way, so that's another win. Oh, man, I think it's the Blazers. What you're saying is 100% correct in terms of the road schedule, because the road schedule, you're doing a 5-6 game road schedule, and it's hard. So you'll see a lot of teams, like, once again, if it's like a 4-game road schedule that's starting to be that second, third game, they're kind of on downhill because they're tired. They're traveling, they're not at their home, they're traveling. So that is something very important to look at. Revenge games, which we're going to get into in a little bit when I talk about my NBA play for this weekend, is a very big thing. One team may win, but then they have that revenge factor that, hey, you know what? We lost last time, but we're coming hard this time. That's something definitely that I look at as well.
Yes, well, you brought it up there. You got the revenge. I know you've got one certain game that you want to share with all of our listeners out there. If they're going to place a wager NBA, why don't you go ahead and share it with us?
Sure. So we got the Brooklyn Nets going to San Francisco, taking on the Golden State Warriors. And this is going to be the second time these teams are facing. Anytime I see these two face each other, I enjoy it because it's Kevin Durant taking on his old team. You know what I mean? So it should be an interesting matchup. Last time these two teams played, the Nets were 7.5-point favorites and actually covered. I mean, they killed the Warriors on the boards and just basically outplayed them. They shot really well.
No, that was in Brooklyn, correct, though?
I believe that was in Brooklyn, correct? And I think it was earlier this season. It was like, I think it might have been the first game of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but it was very early in the season. And this time around, though, again, the game is in San Francisco. Nets are still the favorite. Clearly, they're the better team, of course. You have the big three over there with Kyrie Irving, KD, and, of course, James Harden. They're 4-point favorites. And although the line has gone down and they're 4-point favorites, I talked about the revenge factor a few minutes ago. The Warriors are going to be looking for a win here. It's in their hometown. They want revenge from that first game. Steph Curry, I think, is going to have a 30-plus game, and I think the Warriors are just going to shoot lights out. I see not only the Warriors possibly covering that 4 points, don't be surprised if they win altogether. And let me just say one more thing. I believe the Nets are possibly the most bipolar team this season because they're literally up for a team of that magnitude. They should be blowing everybody out by 20 points. And as I said, when they got James Harden, they already had, and this is no offense to anybody, but I mean, they already had sort of one cancerous player, in my opinion, in Kyrie Irving. And now they have James Harden. You have two head cases there with Kevin Durant, who's the most insensitive player probably in the history of the NBA. It's a recipe for disaster, and we see it by the way this team has been trending. So I'm going with the Warriors here.
Yeah, it's regularly, as Michael Jargo over on hashtag HTM Sports, he points out, he is just waiting for the moment that the team implodes.
I agree. Don't be surprised if you hear fights break out in the locker room. Well,
we were talking about the wear and tear and possible jet lag and the travel and all of that. Is there anything in the NBA that you see in the trends that might factor into wagers when it comes to these bigger platform games? Is this one here? It's going to be featured. It's a Saturday night game. Just that Saturday night on a cable provider, local television. This thing is going to be on ABC. It's a national spotlight for the NBA.
It's a primetime game on ABC Saturday night, and it's no secret. The games that have the heaviest of bets are televised games because for some people, they have, in order for them to bet on a game, they have to watch the game. I used to be like that when I first started in this business, but now it doesn't matter. I mean, I bet on games that are like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not staying up 3 o'clock in the morning to watch women's tennis. I'm not doing that. So I'll just check in the morning. But because those games are heavily televised, it's on those games you want to look at where the public is betting because those games you have the majority of casual bettors. Because it's a televised game, let me put $20 on this, let me put $100 on that. I can guarantee without even looking, I didn't even look. I guarantee you though, when it comes Saturday, if you check where the public's money's at, 1,000%. It's going to be on the Nets because the public money is always on the favorites just because, the Nets are a better team. They're going to win. But unfortunately, sports capping doesn't work that way because if the favorites won every time, we'd all be millionaires because we just bet the favorites every time.
The sports books in Vegas, they're counting on the casual gambler. But you're right. I mean, it just makes the game, if you happen to be out somewhere watching it or whatever, having a good time, it makes the game a little more interesting if you got some action on it.
Exactly. That's absolutely true.
All right, some NBA. That said, we are going to each week. We're going to begin to expand our NBA coverage. Especially, we will probably go full throttle when we get into playoff season. Then, of course, when it comes to basketball, right around the corner, college hoops, March Madness. We're going to have complete coverage every round, every game, the ins and outs, up, top, bottom, whatever you need to know. We are going to have you covered.
I just want to say one thing since we're on this topic. For you players out there in the season, we are 100% going to have something for March Madness. I'm working on it right now. So we will have something for March Madness in terms of the pick'em for HMG.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Well, I know each and every Saturday, I know where you're at, where your attention is. Your eyes are glued. It's inside the cage. It's UFC. And this Saturday, no different. We got another big fight night. A nice card, right?
I nodded, but I don't know why I nodded. This is possibly, I'm going to say probably, maybe in the last 10 years, this is probably the worst looking card on paper.
Oh, okay then. Okay, I'm trying to put them over. Captain
There's nothing to put. I mean,
and you're just burying them. Okay. Hey, but what makes it better than making a little money on it?
Exactly. That makes it all better. And, there's always spots, no matter how bad the card is. And let me tell you something. I'm always the one that are usually on, Cage Theory, our MMA podcast. I'm usually always one, hey, don't worry about what this looks like on paper. You're still going to get some good fights in there. So I don't know why I feel this way, like it's going to be a crappy card. But those crappy cards, sometimes you get some of the best fights. But we'll see what happens. But I just have a bad feeling about this card. I do think it's probably going to be one of the worst pay-per-view buys probably in the last couple of years, if not, like I said, the last 10 years. It's just not strong on paper. And I honestly think Dana White gives no shits because he knows it's the first pay-per-view, the year. Or what is it? Second pay-per-view of the year. It's the first title fight of the year, I should say. So I don't think Dana White gives a shit. Next month is the real money. That's where you have blockbuster event, 3 title fights next month's pay-per-view.
All right. Well, so we want to spice it up out there for the bettors, for the fight fans. But what are the fights that stand out to you on this card?
So I'm going to talk about probably the only fight that really everyone's eyes are on, and that's the main event, and that's the welterweight champion Kamaru Usman taking on Gilbert Burns. Let me just break this down really quickly. I don't think Kamaru Usman has had a threat like Gilbert Burns. A lot of people might argue and say Colby Covington. Well, I argue and said Colby Covington left that fight with his jaw hanging off his face. Jorge Masvidal, a huge fan of Jorge Masvidal, game bred. But let's be realistic. He got dominated for 5 rounds. And there's a lot of factors going in there. He took the fight on short notice. He had to cut like 25, 30 pounds in the span of like less than a week. I understand that. But Gilbert Burns is prime and ready. Gilbert Burns, number one, has switched camps. What camp has he gone to? He's gone to Usman's old camp. Usman has left his gym for a new gym. Now all of his training partners, all of his coaches are coaching Burns. Don't you think they're going to let Burns in on some secrets? Of course. They're vested in Burns now. Burns could be their lead guy. So that's a huge advantage. Not only that, Usman, I understand he's great. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. A lot of his fights, though, his opponents are taking stuff on short notices or they didn't get full camps. Gilbert Burns is taking a full camp here. And I'm just going to throw this out there right now. I've battled with this back and forth. And as of right now, Usman is a 3-1 favorite. That line is ridiculous. A 3-1 favorite is absolutely ridiculous. They're way closer than that. If the line was smaller, I would definitely take Usman. But as I've said in several weeks, sometimes you have to look for value. While Usman might be the right play here, this is not what I'm looking here for is value. And the play I really love that keeps jumping out at me is not only am I going to say Gilbert Burns win this match with an incredible upset, I'm going to say he KOs Usman. And right now, that line right now is plus 575. It's a massive underdog. But sometimes you have to go with your heart over numbers, over trends. And this is all heart. Plus 575 Burns to KO the welterweight champion and become the new welterweight champion.
All right, we've got it recorded. That is a bold prediction, my friend. Going with the KO in the cage. Again, bold prediction, but not quite a stone cold lock. What do you got? What is the surefire best bet of the week from JayB?
So we're going to Melbourne. We're going to Australian Open. I've been having a great Australian Open. I talked about it on last episode.
We've got friends down under.
Absolutely, we do have friends down under, and I'm having a great. I'm capping at about 75% so far on the Australian Open, so doing really well there. Our boy Djokovic is still in the running. That's my pick to win, and he's still going on. I believe this is going to be, I believe it's the third round. He's going to be taking on Miles Ronick, who is really, really good. However, I do think Djokovic is going to pull out the victory. Right now, it stands at around minus 175, minus 180, depending what book you're playing it. In tennis, you're going to get juices like that. It's you're not going to find like minus 115 in tennis. I don't care who's playing who. Those lines just don't exist, unfortunately. So getting Djokovic at, minus 170, minus 180 is really good. And that's my stone cold lock pick of the week.
All right, the serve for the ace Djokovic is the stone cold lock of the week. Well, JayB, we made it through another episode. Go ahead and hit your plugs, bud.
Yeah, so I can be reached on Twitter at the P1JB. That's at THEP1JB. Of course, I can be found on Facebook as well at the HMG Facebook page.
And again, if you're looking to get a little more in depth, as we're looking at those big fights, where can they find Cage Theory?
You can find Cage Theory. We're also on Facebook, Cage Theory Podcast Group. You can also find us on Twitter at Cage Theory Pod. Go ahead and check us out. We have a lot of exciting news coming, a lot of new things coming, some different shows coming as well as part of the Cage Theory umbrella. So look out for that.
Very, very nice. And just a reminder, the Bottom Line Sportsbook is brought to you by the Hamin Media Group. You can find us across all social media. Just giving us a search. Hamin Media Group. Hey, we are now TikTokers. We are at, what is it? HMG Talk, TOK. We're taking over the TikTok universe. On Facebook, you can join in when all the live discussion, all the events, you can join in all the season, the pick 'em, the fantasy leagues, all that, just on Facebook. Just give a search for the Hamin Media Discussion Group. And again, you can follow me, RBV, Richard Bronson Vickrey, across all social media at The Real RBV. But for now, sports fanatics, we are out of here because that's the bottom line, because RBV and JayB said so.